I feel like I've been saying this for 3 years, but this is one of the hardest real estate markets we've been in because
You telling me?
it just keeps getting harder. And I got into real estate at the top of when COVID was popping off, and I've been just riding it down. It's been like, dude, can this ever pick up a little bit? But I don't know. The way that I look at it is it's building me thick skin. I'm creating my systems. If I can perform in this market, then when it turns and it comes back up again, which real estate always does, it's cyclical. Like we're going to be ready to just kill it. But yeah, disciplined underwriting in today's market, it's just you have to be very conservative.
What if the secret to building unshakable wealth wasn't buying more properties, but mastering the discipline, speed, and systems behind the money that fuels them? Today on the Real Estate Roundtable, we're sitting down with someone who has cracked the code. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, top producer with Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage and leader of the Sir Lancelot Group. And joining me is a powerhouse in the world of real estate finance, operations, and entrepreneurial grit. Wendell Butler, president and founder of Hammerhead Capital Inc., and the visionary behind Flip Fuel Lending and the Hive CLT Entrepreneurs Monthly Networking Meetup. From military officer to real estate investor to hard money lending leader, Wendell has built a reputation for speed, precision, transparency, and operational excellence, all while helping investors scale smarter and faster. If you're an investor trying to understand how to win in today's volatile market, if you're curious about disciplined underwriting, value add strategies, and the systems behind scalable lending, or if you simply want to know what separates the real operators from the speculators, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lancelot. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to just talk shop about real estate and entrepreneurship.
Awesome, man. You've built a reputation for discipline, operation-focused investing, and now a lending company that runs with military-level precision. But I want to take it back to the beginning. What was the moment or the mission that pulled you from military service into the world of real estate?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not the type of person that grew up in like a real estate family or knew right out of the gate that I wanted to get into real estate. I feel like a lot of people aren't like that. They usually find their way into it and they end up loving it or liking it. I was just living my life like going through the normal what society pushes you to do. It's go to school, try to get a high paying job. I was trying to be a physician assistant. I was in a medical field, so studied a lot of science and kinesiology, specifically in college. Don't use that too much now, except just to work out. I understand it, but
That's good.
yeah. Went through that whole process and then started studying and getting hours to get into physician assistant school. Started applying, and I realized that I didn't like school. And I was like, hey, I don't like school. Why am I trying to just like jump back into it? So I took a break. And while I was in undergrad, I was in the military as well. I was enlisted, and then I did a program to become an officer once I graduated as well. It was like a simultaneous membership program through ROTC. And that was a really good experience for gaining leadership and discipline, which I use today. But essentially, what caused me to take the route into entrepreneurship in real estate, when I took that break from school, and I basically call it my quarter life crisis, and I moved to Miami, Florida with a couple of my entrepreneurial friends who was doing e-commerce stuff. I started just seeing how they were making money and like starting businesses and like taking chances, risks. And I was like, wait a minute. So there's ways to do this other than just going to school and getting like a 9 to 5 or like a medical license, and working day in and day out every single day based on a schedule. And this opened my mind more. So I started reading more about entrepreneurial stuff. Real estate was one of them for sure. Bigger Pockets, was listening to that a lot, reading books about being a real estate agent, about being a lender, and just diving into that. And lo and behold, I slowly found my way into sales, I was selling payroll, and then COVID happened. And then I had connections within my payroll of people that were in real estate. So I eventually got offered a job as like a loan officer assistant, got into as a loan officer assistant, became a loan officer after a little bit, then got into hard money lending as a loan officer as well. And all out while I was doing that, I was dabbling in part-time investing. So doing like house hacks and stuff like that. And that's how I got into it. It was like, just I hated school and realized I needed to make a change. One of the biggest things actually was I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 25. It's super rare and doesn't run in my family. So it's like an eye-opening thing. And that really pushed me to take a bigger leap into entrepreneurial journey because I didn't want to be like stuck to a corporate desk depending on some business's healthcare. I wanted to just take control of my life myself. So the combination of all those things got me into it. And yeah, that's basically what went down.
Interesting background story there. Investors today are jumping into new markets more than ever, but without a strategy, they burn out fast. You, however, seem to thrive in variety. How do you personally evaluate a new market when you're unfamiliar with it?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to having a lot of variety or like liking a lot of variety. I will say when you get into real estate, it's exciting and you want to do many things, right? You get shiny object syndrome and you do as an entrepreneur as well because you see other people doing stuff that's working and you're like, oh, that sounds cool. That looks cool. Should try that. But like my first year of diving into it or getting into real estate, I was all over the place and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It's very important to really just pick one thing to focus on and get really good at because if you're jumping over into all aspects of real estate, say if you're doing like Airbnb, multifamily, fix and flip, or trying to do loans, or just a combination of huge things, you get pulled in so many different directions. You can never become an expert at one or become really good at one. So you want to focus on one niche that really you get good at. And then with your question about the market and getting familiar with new markets after moving or trying out different areas, if you have a lot of experience in one thing, you can basically survive in any market because you just fine tune the way you look at the deals based on the background and your understanding and your underwriting and your disciplined actions that you take for each deal, and you make it work. So like, for example, I used to live in New England. I was looking at multifamily a lot because it's all multifamily there. So I was all about multifamily investing, borrowing, holding long term, etc. And then I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's absolutely no multifamily here that works for what I'm looking for, which is like value add. It's more like turnkey and low returns, which is not what I'm trying to do at this moment in my life. So then I had to switch to fix and flipping for like single family homes, get really good at that. And once you get and understand like a process that you build and are disciplined with it, it allows you to switch markets and maybe try different markets with the same metrics and understanding and same procedure. You just have to look at the data differently because the data is different. So that's kind of how you survive and how you adapt. It's just stick to your system, stick to the discipline, and just let the data tell you like what's right and what's wrong.
And what data points do you trust most when you're investing out of state?
So it depends. Like for me, let's talk about fix and flips, right? So for fix and flips, I always tell people the most important data point is ARV because ARV you can't control, right? You can control the rehab to a sense. Like if you open up a wall and it's like a foundation issue, like you're screwed. But you can control the rehab to a sense. You can control the purchase price as much as you can because you can say no if you don't get the right purchase price and you can negotiate it. So you have more control in that. But ARV, you can't just like control the ARV if the market's telling you a certain ARV, which is after repair value, right? So the most important number to me is always ARV, and then I work backwards. And also the biggest thing is like after repair value of properties can change street by street. So it's really important to dive deep into the comparables that you're looking at based on a deal to find the correct after repair value, and then be pretty conservative on it, especially in this market because, well, in some of the markets, like for example, Charlotte's it's a buyer's market right now, totally flipped. So you're going to be more conservative with the ARV, and you have to understand that the market changed, and then you have to almost discount even less of what you think it might be worth. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself possibly losing out on profit or even losing money on deals. So you have to adapt to the market, understand what's going on, and make quick pivots based on that. But I would say ARV is the most important. And it's the one that people get wrong the most because they get really emotional. They start saying, hey, what if I just add like granite counters or quartz everywhere and then tile the bathrooms and showers? I could probably get like 30 grand more. But if the market's telling you that it's going to be worth 450 no matter what you do to it, if you put gold everything, it's not going to make someone buy it for 500 if they're looking at other properties that have sold for 450 that are the same exact type of property. So I would say, yeah, ARV is probably the most important data point for me.
Cool. That's a good way to go about it, is to go back from what's going to be in it. I like that pattern. Not many investors build their own lending company, but you did. And you built it with speed and transparency at the core. What made you say we need a different kind of hard money lender?
I had a lot of experience as a conventional loan officer and then got into hard money. And then that's when I was part-time investing. And then I took the leap after a little bit into full-time investing. And I just have such a lending background. That's how I got into real estate. So after a year of building my fix and flip company and my new build company, arm of my business, I just realized like, hey, I have this expertise or this like experience with lending. There's like, why not try to vertically integrate within my business and also provide lending opportunities for other investors as well? It's always better when you're working with somebody that has investment experience when you're trying to invest. Like, for example, like as a real estate agent, if the real estate agent has investing experience, they're going to understand what you're trying to do a lot more than someone that only handles like residential first time home buyer stuff, never have done investing. And for lenders too, like if the lender has investment experience, like they understand how to put together the product or find the right products and the right terms for you based on the deal. So I approached it with that mindset as vertically integrating within my company, because it's pretty easy to integrate the loans within my already built fix and flip and new build company. But at the same time, now I can offer it to others and increase cash flow to then put into more investments myself. And just being an investor, I know how investors like to communicate. I know how investors like to talk. So it just makes it that much easier to be a lender for them, because you understand exactly what they're trying to do, especially if they're in the same market as you.
A lot of times they're a little bit rougher around the edges too.
Yeah, straight to the point. It's just numbers.
Ooh, that's what I want. That's it. No fluff. Yeah. I noticed that a lot. What systems or workflows have become non-negotiable in your company's growth?
Basically, what we've been doing a lot this year, especially the last couple months, is we've been taking a step back to really focus on the systems and buying back our time with the company. And what that involves is doing a time audit, figuring out where your time is best well spent, right? So, for example, if I'm doing my fix and flips and I'm the one that's constantly chasing documents or lining up closings and stuff like that, or calling cold call list and just cold calling them all day, that's not where my time is best spent. I should outsource that so then I can focus more on the high value decisions, which is usually just the end of the funnel, right? So think of it like a funnel, like all the leads come in and then you want to qualify them all the way down to the end point. And those end point leads that are like most, you have a really high chance of closing or converting. Those are the ones where you want to spend your most time. So creating systems that create a roadmap like that is super important to us. So for example, we've hired like cold callers to handle qualifying leads and get it to a certain point, and we built metrics to push them to get it to certain, we call it like the 5-star metric. We want all our leads to be 4 to 5 stars, which is like we have motivation, we have information about their property, we have a timeline, we have a lot of information about the seller. So then we can come into the conversation like armed and ready to either close it or find out that it's not going to work really quick. And we call it the five-star lead process. And we won't talk to any leads unless it's a 4 or 5-star. And we push our cold callers to continue talking to them until they push it there. And then we give them like commission based on that to push them to there, to give them incentives. And then on top of that, we can hire like a transaction coordinator that can handle the documentation, communications with the title company and the attorneys, things that like we shouldn't be doing, because we should really only be focusing on increasing our marketing, increasing our KPIs, which is our key performance indicators within our business, and growing our business by hiring people that are better than us at certain jobs within the business. So I think that's the most important thing. And people forget about that, because in the beginning of building a company or investing, you should be doing everything. I believe in that, because you want to learn how the whole process works, because then you can teach after that when you hire people. But people forget to take the step of taking a step back in hiring to then grow. Instead, they keep their head down and they think if they just keep doing more deals, they're just going to kill it and keep growing. but you can only do so much as one person. There's a time that you have to take a step back, that's going to cut in revenue, it's going to cut in profit for the time being, but then it's going to almost hockey stick growth you to a lot more profit and revenue in the long run, because then you're going to have so much more time. You're going to have employees and organization that can back what you're trying to do and reach your goals and your mission. And you can handle a lot more leads, for example, and conversion, because you're focused on just the priority items. Plus, makes you not get burnt out. So I'd say that's the most important kind of thing that I think about.
Delegation is one of those things we always struggle with as realtors.
Yeah, no, it's hard because nobody can do the job better than you. Like in your mind, it's like, I can just do it. Like, I'll do it. I'm the best.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, because this is the thing. If you train one person to do one thing really well, he's probably going to be better at it than you in the long run.
Yeah.
You just have to get him to that point. You're doing this and you're doing really good at this, and that's all you do, because you do everything. So you're scatterbrained a little bit at a point. You're like, yeah, I can do that really well, but that person only does this.
Yeah.
So it's like, boom.
Yeah. I use the concept like, as long as whoever you hire is doing 80% as good as what you think you can do, that's a fantastic hire, and it's going to help you grow substantially. And then also, as like, think about it, you might have to train someone for 10 hours, right, to get them up to speed to where you're at on like certain specific tasks. But once you do that, then you free up 10 hours a week for the rest of your life within your business, right? So it's like such a better reward.
This is a side question on this topic: is how or where do you look for these people to hire? Do you look at your sphere, or you look at Indeed, or how is that work, and how do you work through that? And there's a process to hiring too, so I'm pretty sure you have that in place.
Yeah.
Can you run me quickly through that? If
Yeah.
that's okay.
No, yeah, for sure. So a lot of the things that we're hiring for right now are more repetitive tasks type jobs, which a lot can just be virtual assistants like overseas. There's no reason to pay, like, I love American and US citizens and stuff, right? But there's no reason to pay a cold caller in America like $40,000 to $50,000 when I can go pay a virtual assistant in the Philippines $5 an hour. They're the same thing, as long as they have the same English, the same idea and an experience in real estate and understand the whole process. There's no reason. Now, there are some things that you want to hire like here, obviously. Like for my loan officers, I hire them here, because if you have like someone overseas trying to sell loans here, like you just the relationship isn't there, right? You kind of need boots on the ground here for that. That's how I look at it. If it's something that is a repetitive task that I do consistently weekly, and it's just the same thing again and again, that's a VA all day, because they can do it. They can do it remotely. You just build the system, you build the standard operation procedures for them and just teach them. And then they love it. They're really good at it. And I usually find them through, I've hired mostly in the Philippines just because I like the way that we kind of have a system there. So we use like onlinejobs.ph, which is usually college grad Filipinos. That website has like time proof tracking, so they can track their time, and then you can pay them based on how much time that they've tracked. It takes pictures of the work that they're doing, so you know that they're actually doing the work. It makes a really good, easy system for that. And they can pay them with wise.com, which is just an international payment system.
I use Wise.
Yeah, it's great. And it sends it like that, like immediately. So they love it because I'm like, payment sent, they get it. And they're like, woo, sweet. But what I do to filter out like the best applicants, because you've heard the terms like hire slow, fire fast. Like you have to hire slow and fire fast. If you hire too fast, you're going to hire the wrong people. And then it's just going to waste a lot of time. I actually use this program called Culture Survey, which is essentially, it finds out how you're wired as a person, as an individual. And you take like a test. So for example, I want to hire a cold caller. I take a quick test within that program of what I'm trying to hire and the type of person I'm trying to hire. And then it comes out with an archetype of who might fit in that position the best, right? And then you take that and then you create a job description that caters to those type of people, like verbally. And then when you post it, people will apply, and you hope to get a lot of that archetype, right? And then you use that to filter down the initial applicants, because you might get like 200 applicants, but then you only get 10 of the archetype that you want. So then you take those 10 and then you look at experience. You see which ones are the most experienced. That might narrow you down to 5 because the other 5 don't have any experience. And then cool. Then you either interview them, or if you need like a language test because they're going to be on the phone, you can have them take a language test. If they have good English or bad English, you can decide, and that'll help you filter it down more. But usually you get 3 to 5 great applicants and interviews for that. And then it just comes down to who fits in your culture best based on like the interview, right? Do you vibe with them? Do they sound like they're going to enjoy being part of your organization, be super truthful? I usually don't have a super formal interview. It's more just like getting to know the person, right? Talk to me about what you do. I ask them behavioral questions in regards to the position, but it's more about like, how do I feel talking to this person? And based on their experience, like how, like, does it feel like they would fit in our culture really good? Another great thing too is always have someone do a case study. So it's really easy. Go on ChatGPT and you just say, create me a case study for a cold caller interview. And then it'll just print one out for you. And then you just send it to the applicants before you interview, because that's another way to filter as well, right? Because maybe 2 of them might not do it. And you're like, cool, now we're down to 3, because you know that they're not responsive, they're not attention to detail. So then you're down to 3. And then you look at the case studies, and then it just comes down to who fits in your organization the best at that point, because you probably have 3 great candidates, and that's a great thing to have. Like when you're like, I don't know who to pick. And that's kind of the process that we set up to hire, is to get to the point that there's 2 to 3 candidates at the end that we're like, oh snap, like this is a hard decision to make. Yeah, this is a hard decision. But the cool thing is like, you can always hire one of them, and then who knows, in 2 months you might want to hire another one because you want to expand. You can go right back to that person. Okay, we're hiring now. But that's broad idea of the system that we currently use.
Cool. So you're known for disciplined underwriting, real numbers driven evaluations, rare in today's hype driven market. What does disciplined underwriting really look like in 2025?
Can you repeat the end of that question? Sorry, something popped up in my ear.
Disciplined underwriting really look like in 2025?
Oh yeah. So in regards to my own like real estate purchases, like for my investments. Okay.
We're talking, this is a segment about value adds and burrs.
Gotcha.
Multifamily.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been saying this for 3 years, but this is one of the hardest real estate markets we've been in. Because it just keeps getting harder. And I got into real estate at the top of when COVID was popping off, and I've been just riding it down. It's been like, dude, can this ever pick up a little bit? But I don't know. The way that I look at it is it's building me thick skin. I'm creating my systems. If I can perform in this market, then when it turns and it comes back up again, which real estate always does, it's cyclical. Like we're going to be ready to just kill it. But yeah, disciplined underwriting in today's market, it's just you have to be very conservative. Again, it depends on the market that you're in. Like in New England, for example, there's no supply still. Houses fly off the shelves because nobody's building, and it's really expensive, and just people have a lot of money up there, right? So that's a little different of a market, and there's pockets like that. So you might be a little more aggressive up there. But for example, in like Charlotte, where I'm at right now, where the past couple months, it has totally flipped to like a total buyer's market. We've changed our whole underwriting process to just focus on more quality rather than quantity. Before we were just ripping out deals. But when the market changes, you start realizing like, hey, we did really good on these first 3 deals, but then these next 2, the market shifted and we didn't make what we thought, or we even lost money on it, which then kills motivation. It kills your profits from your other properties that you did good on. I would specifically look at things for quality and not quantity. I know that if you want to get into real estate investing, it's really exciting and you're like, I want to get a deal, but you can't get emotional about it. You have to trust the numbers, and the numbers right now they're not in your favor. Again, like I said, you want to always look at ARV, and ARV is the biggest factor in every single market. And I would even say in today's market, you want to find the ARV that you think is ARV of the past 6 months, using comps of the past 6 months or so. And then even want to discount it more. I would discount it like 10% and assume that it's going to keep trending down. And that's going to protect you on the back end, because if it does trend down, you had a cushion for that. If it trends up, amazing. You're going to make more than you thought. I would try to increase your profit margins. We were trying to do 15% total return on investment on each flip. So for example, that's just all the money in, say like it's $300,000, you put $100,000 into it. For rehab, that's $400,000 plus all the fees, blah, 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 realtor costs, etc. That's $440, right? We want to make 15% of that $440, which would be around $60,000 on that. we're now not touching like any property unless we're making like 60 grand on it, right? Because those deals that are smaller, like 200,000 or so, it might be like at 15%, it might be like a 30 grand profit, which you're like, sweet. But literally in this market, one thing goes wrong or one price cut, that 30 grand profit goes down to nothing. So you have to consciously create a larger margin for error in this economy until it starts showing more positive data for you to go the other direction, right? So you have to adapt. The same stuff doesn't work all the time. The real estate's cyclical. So when it's going down, you just have to adjust your underwriting, be a little more conservative. And then when it goes back up, I would still say be conservative, but you can start tweaking it a little bit more to be a little less conservative based on the market. But those are kind of things that we're looking at for sure. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. What's the difference between a deal that looks good on paper and a deal that actually builds long-term wealth?
Yeah. People talk about phantom cash flow a lot. And I think newer investors fall into this a good amount where they think that cash flow is just rent minus like the mortgage. And for example, let's back it up. So there's multiple ways to invest in real estate, right? There's fix and flips, there's rental properties, there's BRRRR strategy, there's commercial, there's Airbnb, etc. Right? Airbnb is like a mix between faster cash flow and then long-term wealth if you hold it and perform it well, but it's more active. Fix and flipping is totally active. You're not really building wealth there. You're just getting money in larger chunks quicker that you can then hopefully you put it into more wealth producing products like long-term rentals or like multifamily or like commercial stuff like that. But I would say that you want to the strategy that I use is I like to do the fix and flips, new builds, wholesales to create more quick capital that comes in to then put it into the long-term wealth building activities like multifamily and rentals. One thing that you want to look at is you want to have a good combination of that, because if you don't buy property and hold it, if you're all in on real estate, you're always going to be looking for that next deal and you're never really going to have that financial freedom, right? Because you're going to be actively working all the time. But if you can place a little bit of your capital that you're getting from your active work into investing into long-term rentals or something like that, then that's going to increase your wealth over time, because you get loan pay down, you get depreciation, you get appreciation of the property, you get some tax benefits, and then the rental income will always be increasing. And then usually your mortgage payment's going to pretty much stay the same unless you refinance or et cetera. And then you have the opportunity to refinance too and take out like tax-free money. So long-term rentals are really where it's at in multifamily, to be honest, but it is really hard to find cash flowing properties. And that brings me back to the first thing that I said, the phantom cash flow. So you really have to, again, be conservative in this market, right? Like cash flow isn't just rent minus the pity or the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's you have to budget for maintenance, repair, capital expenditures, vacancies, utilities, all that stuff, right on top of it. So you just want to make sure that I would say, like, I always try to target like at least 7 to 10% cash on cash return in my rentals once it's stabilized. It might not have to be that initially, but when you get out of it or refinance out of it into long term, you want it to have that, because that gives you a good cushion for long term wealth building. But I wouldn't hold yourself to that, because if you're working like an active job that is paying you really well and you can withhold, or you can hold like a property that's breaking even, and you can take advantage of the tax write-offs, you can take advantage of the appreciation, depreciation, loan pay down, it's still worth it. You're leveraging so much capital with a little amount of money, which is the biggest thing in real estate that builds wealth, is the leverage you can get. Like you can't go into the stock market and buy like 100 shares of Apple for the price of one share and take a loan out. I'm sure you could, but that's super dangerous. Real estate, you can buy like $1 million property for $100,000 down, but you're getting the appreciation on that $1 million, which is like amazing, right? And you're getting the tax depreciation on that $1 million. So it's the game of leverage, and you just have to make sure that, again, be conservative with the numbers, make sure that you're okay, and you have a certain buy box that you stick to that works for you. But I would say, yeah, you always want to try to build wealth, and wealth is really in the long term in real estate. It's not those quick hits. It's that long term that you really, no matter what, you want to get into that because you'll thank yourself 20 years down the line. You just will.
Yeah, totally agreed, my friend. Anyone who succeeds at scale in real estate has scars and stories. What was an early mistake that reshaped how you operate today?
We had a recent mistake I can touch on. It was still in it, and it's fantastic to go through. Because until now, I didn't really have any mistakes. I was like blessed. But yeah, this one was probably the worst deal that we've done. And they're great to talk about. So we purchased a property from our wholesaler that had some land that we subdivided as well to do a new build on. We had a lot of projects going on at once, right? We had, I think, 8 to 10 projects going on at once. So we failed to do the real proper due diligence of that property, especially with the subdivide and like the lot factor cost of the new build, which is basically clearing the land and getting it ready to put the slab down and build the home. So because of that, we had so much going on and we judged our due diligence. We had the expected profit on this deal was going to be like 120,000. Now it's nothing, zero. We'll be happy if we get out of it with break even. We call it project break even because you have to add some light and fun to it. But basically what happened was fix and flips, you can always understand the rehab of what it should be based on the walkthroughs. And we had the rehab down perfectly until we open up a wall. And the second you open up that wall, you see the real foundation. We found out the foundation was bowing. So then we had an extra like $25,000 on top of that. Oof, that hurts, right? But that was part of our contingency, so it was okay. But we then found out that the septic system died. So then we had to connect to this city sewer, which is like another 10 grand. And then we had to do a second driveway because there was a shared driveway we were going to do, but we realized that wouldn't work after the fact based on the lot factor of the new build. And that's going to cost $50,000. So we're already at $85,000 over our budget. And then on top of that, the lot factor, we expected it to be $25,000 on the new build. It ended up being around 60. So that's an extra 35. So our budget increased from 85,000 to, what is that, 120? And increased 120, which immediately shrunk our $120,000 profit to nothing. Now, this happens in real estate. We're lucky that we had a deal that we subdivided land off of it to create like a huge profit initially, but that quickly went away, evaporated. And it was a simple fact that we didn't do our proper due diligence. I should have had the general contractors go out and do a real lot factor. We just did it over the phone and showing him the land. And he was like, yeah, it'll probably be like 25K. Never trust an over the phone quote. The second they went out there, they're like, yeah, it's gonna be like 60, but we already closed on it. And we were like, shit, we should have checked to make sure the septic was okay before. The foundation, there's really nothing we could have done there. It's just, it is what it is. You open up a wall and you see that. But the driveway, we should have known before that we had to do a second driveway to make it sellable, especially in this market. Now, things like that happens. All you can do is realize, hey, we made a mistake with our due diligence. And that's where we are now, again, in this market, doing the quality over quantity. Because we had so much deals going on. And that one deal is just wasting a lot of our time now and our mental strength to make nothing. But we have to move forward with it. Because otherwise, if we sell it now, we lose like 80. I'm like, okay, we have to do it. But yeah, it's painful to do a deal where you're making no money, but it's beneficial because it teaches you a lot about your process. And now we're changing our process to the point of more conservative underwriting in this market, thinking more about quality over quantity, and just really taking our due diligence and not ever skipping over like a real thorough due diligence. Even if we have good connections with the wholesalers that we buy from or the realtors, you always have to do proper good due diligence, no matter what kind of pressure you're on. Like if the wholesaler's like, we have to close this week, like don't be afraid to be like, hey, dude, I gotta check this out. Sorry.
I'm sure that you guys are really prepared for that too, because you don't just toss offers at every single deal. You're looking for the sweet stuff right now, as
Yeah.
you were saying. So A lot of times, because I'm in investor meetings, REA meetings, like, just send offers, just send offers. And then what you notice is a lot of these investors are not really doing their due diligence during the inspection period. They're not sending in an inspector or contractor to see what this or that would cost. And at the end of the day, they end up with the property and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
how are we going to work this to make it happen? And that happens a lot because, oh, I'll get a 4 point on a wind mitt down here in Florida. That's one of those things that,
Yep.
okay, they're going to look at the roof, they're going to look at the AC units, the plumbing and the electrical, but they don't really do a full on inspection because, oh, spending $500, $500, $500, $500, $500.
Yeah.
If you're making hundreds of offers, because that's what they're doing, because let's just make offers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't just go and get the good stuff as you're doing and then spend the $500 or $1,000 on inspections and have the right mindset to get that property instead of blasting everybody with offers.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about this market is it is a buyer's market in most cities. So like you have the leverage to do inspections. So like why, yes, you want to buy stuff as is. You want to make it easy for the seller. That's the point of being an investor. You're solving a problem. But you can still get an inspection and just know. You could say I'm buying it as is, but I want this inspection. And then you can still put up like 1,000 EMD that they just get if you back out. And then lo and behold, if you find something like we would have found, like $120,000 more of rehab, I would have been like, take my $1,000. I don't care. I'm going on to the next one.
I'm out. Easier.
Yeah. So it's a balance, right? We toss out offers, a ton of offers too. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty of, hey, now it's a real discussion to purchase the property, we let them know we're doing due diligence. And the market allows it, thankfully, because it's hard to sell right now. Not a lot of buyers, a lot of investors have stopped buying. So right now is a great time to buy. It's a hard time to exit. So really use due diligence on the buying portion, use it to your advantage, because on the back end, it's going to be hard to exit until the market turns again. So you just got to prepare yourself for that.
Got you. So on the flip side, what was the win that told you I'm building something real here?
I think it's more just talking to other investors and just seeing how everybody else is operating in this market. Like where we did 15 deals in the past year, 15 flips and new builds, and like other experienced investors aren't even touching those numbers. And we're making profit, we're being successful. And I think it's because of our systems that we have in place. And that's just the biggest win right there, because we're in a lot of mastermind meetings. Like we talk to other investors, we see what's going on with them, and people talking about losing their shirts, like losing money, like not doing well. And we're still making money. We're not making the, I'm gonna be honest, like it's not the best market, so we're not like killing it in all means. I don't think any investor right now is killing it unless you're in like some great pockets. But I think that in a sense is great to get feedback on and understand that we're doing the right things. We're putting our systems in place. We're succeeding in this tough market. So like when it is time to turn that faucet on and ramp up the efforts when the market turns a little bit, like we'll be ready for it. When vice versa, other investors right now are feeling like, hey, I can't find a deal, so let me put my head down and just underwrite as many deals as possible, and then not focusing on building the systems. So it's almost whatever you think you should be doing, you might want to consider doing the opposite. Like if you're trying to build a business and you're like, I gotta grind and find deals right now because it's so hard to find deals. Instead, grind and fix your systems. So when it's time to start, when the market changes or shifts, you'll be ready to just scoop up all the deals as possible. And then I'm not saying don't look for deals. I'm just saying spend some time reevaluating where you want your life to be in like 5 to 10 years and build it now. Because I think now is a great time to build it. Because again, real estate cyclical, it's going to come back. It's going to be a lot easier. And you're just going to make it so much easier if you focus on your systems now and set up for the future. And also, if you focus on your systems now, like it'll make it easier to find deals now too. So it's a win-win scenario. But again, that's like what we found is like a huge win for us, is seeing that we're being very successful in this tough market, and just hearing the feedback from other investors, like we must be doing the right things, and we're going to continue doing it.
Awesome. You built the Hive CLT Entrepreneurs Meetup, and the community around it is growing really fast. Why did you feel the need to create a space like the Hive?
Yeah, so I've always gone to meetups. I always tell people to go to meetups because I think it's the best place to just meet like-minded individuals and grow and learn and just get out there and talk to people, connect, build connections and network. In Charlotte specifically, I went to a few real estate meetups, and it was kind of like the same thing again and again. It was more, I'm sure you've gone on the meetups where you go there, there's like an investor up there, they're just talking about how awesome they're doing, and that's it. And it's like, cool, thanks for getting up there and just like bloating about yourself, but like, how did you do it? What are the systems you put in place? Can you teach us a little bit? And then they're like, some won't really dive into the details, or others will be like, hey, buy my course. I don't know. I hate that.
Buy my course? Yeah.
I hate that. So I built this networking to get just a ton of different entrepreneurs together. And it was more about growth and changing the mindset, and then talking to other people that have the same type of aspiration or goals, right? It might not be the same type of business niche. Like I open up to everybody. It's real estate. It's like tech. It's, I don't know, brick and mortar businesses, everybody. But talking to other people that are in the same struggles, trying to get the same goal of having a successful business and being financially free, it just makes you feel less lonely on that path. And then a lot of the lessons that you learn in one business is transferable to the other. So you can learn from other business owners too. So we put that together. We do like workshops about goal setting. We do workshops about finding your purpose and your why. We have speakers come up, but we're trying to make it so like instead of the speaker talking to you, they're talking with you and doing workshops about trying to learn things. So we're trying to take a different spin on it compared to just a normal networking event where it's like a speaker that talks about themselves and then you just network. We're trying to make actionable steps within it. And we've been doing it for about 4 or 5 months now, and it's had great turnouts, great reviews. We're excited for where it's going. And hopefully, I don't know, one day we might turn it into more of a mastermind too, because I'm part of Abundance, and I think Abundance is fantastic. There's other masterminds out there too, but it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals because it just makes you do better in all aspects of life. And that's the approach that we're taking at the Hive.
Well, a lot of times you can do deals together. That's
yeah.
Those things. Like, hey, I don't know where to find funding. That guy knows funding. Okay, great. So you can collaborate and split deals and do things together, which is awesome because they're all like-minded people. So pretty much be careful.
Yeah, always be careful. But most people are good people, right? And I guarantee you, like at those events, like you'll know which ones aren't good because someone will tell you, like, stay away from that guy or stay away from that girl.
Exactly. Wendell, this was Masterclass Systems, Underwriting, Scaling a Lending Company, and Building Real Estate Success with Discipline and Clarity. For everyone listening, if you want to learn more about Flip Fuel Lending, Hammerhead Capital, or join the Hive CLT, go follow Wendell on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then his website as well. The links will be in the show notes underneath. And if today's episode gave you a new way to think about real estate investing, underwriting, or scaling your business, make sure to subscribe, drop a review, and share this with another investor who needs to hear it. I'm Lancelot Lenard with the Sir Lancelot Group and Fuller Homes Realty Mortgage. And this has been another powerful episode of the Real Estate Roundtable, your top source for real estate investing strategies, market intelligence, and interviews with the industry's best. Until next time, keep learning, keep investing, and keep building your legacy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.